I'm just doing what you taught me. Hey.
Claire had me think about the episode all day
Wait, why?
because she was like, "Yo, it's gonna be super dope," and then we
No,
get
that's
here.
not what I said.
That's what you see put on the caption.
I said it needs to be. You talking about on the post?
Yeah,
Of course, I'm gonna tell our viewers that,
we lie to them.
bro. I'm live. I can't be honest. We're not live, but we're live.
Oh my god.
Believe it or not, bro, I'm just doing what you taught me. Eh?
Cool.
Dang, why are you being mean tonight? I thought we were boys.
Why am I being mean?
Yeah, why are you being mean to me?
I'm not being mean. I'm being you.
That's mean.
Maybe you need that sometimes.
You know what I need sometimes?
You know, you used to be the nice one.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
We should try that again.
Okay. You want to this episode? I can't say anything mean. You can't say anything nice.
Oh no, 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 no. That would nah. Then they'll really auction to get me off.
No one options to get you off. No one's ever said they didn't want you on the show.
Bro, somebody will give you 10 patrons right now.
Just to
If
get
I
rid
can
of
get off.
this nigga. All right.
It's not a joke.
Anyway, song going now, bro.
We're gonna skate to one song.
And they don't love the kid. And they don't love the kid. No, they don't love the kid. They don't love the kid. Yeah, my aunts don't know I knew it, but I knew it. Undisputed, with this music. They don't love the kid. In my city, if you risky, you could lose and quit. Yeah, my aunts don't know I knew it, but I knew it.
Yes, I knew. Hey, nothing to dispute.
I hate to bust your bubble out in public, this what I do. Cracking verses that way it is, always cooking up a stew. Got remedies for your problems, we can mix you up like soup. Nah, they don't love them, they don't love it, they don't love me, but they can never skip it. Boy, I'm shake you up in the morning, boy, I spaz what I want and make the situation foreign. Understand, huh? Had to wake them up, I heard them snoring. Hey, and shorty think we boring. Believe it or not, I'm just saying what she told me. Ay, stuff like that have homie tight. He's so mad that he can't type. We don't dance with them boys, we just keep them in our sight. Colder than Victor Freeze, revenge is the dish tonight. Serve it up with extra salt, cause they harsh just won't take it right. Price to pay for trying to play in a league where you can hang. Every track we drop a bang, undisputed reign and count. Let it kid.
Sound check.
We live.
Sound check.
We live. Oh, okay.
No, you're good. You're good. G. I was doing an actual sound check that time because cause said we live, baby. Are we live? Oh man, how you feeling, G?
Been better. I'm straight though.
Okay.
I went to the chiropractor today.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was free.
Did you get a full service?
I guess so. I mean, he gave me this what is it? An assessment and yeah, he cracked me.
Pause. Yeah.
Pause.
How you feeling now?
I feel good.
Better?
Yeah. My back and joints and neck are better.
Well, that's what his job to do is the man behind you.
Yeah. It was weird. It's pretty weird. I think because like he had me lay on this.
All right, go on. Awesome. We sound good. Oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
No, you straight. I was just saying like, I mean he had me lay on my stomach and like I ain't gonna. I was tooted a little bit. Like he tooted me up a little bit.
Please, word
felt kinda-
everything
felt
you're
kinda
saying
fruity.
better.
Huh?
I said, please word everything you're saying better.
Bro, I don't think there is a way. What you
You
want
don't
me
have
to
to
say?
say,
My
oh,
booty was
dude
in the
had you.
air.
You don't have to say, oh, dude had you tooted.
Bro, but
That's some word choice, folks.
yeah, but like my booty was in the air and he touched my back. Like, nah, bro.
He said it is
It
what
ain't
it
either.
is, and it was what it was, and that's exactly what and how it was.
Hey, believe it or not, I'm just saying.
That's disgusting.
Man, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. Woke up from a pappy nap. Them joints hit different these days, and like I said, I woke up blaming the kid for something it could not have did. On my Dr. Seuss. Man, look, what happened? I went to sleep. I had a burger. It was from Five Guys. Very delicious, greasy substance. Upon waking up, a man of my palate was very ravenous for, and I couldn't find it. It's probably on my dresser beside my bed, where I actually now know it is. If I went and look, it's gonna be there. But in my drunken, like, newly wakened stupor, I'm like, that kid, man, took my sandwich. She ain't even got teeth. She ain't even got teeth yet.
Forget the teeth. She can't walk. Matter of fact, she at this moment in time is the equivalent of like playing a game, but somebody changed all your controls.
You try to jump, you doing an F tilt.
Bro, man, you move forward and go back.
I hate when they invert them. That's terrible.
Yeah, like that's not fine at all.
Yeah. And to everybody watching on Twitch, hello, how are you? We're going to have a dope show, or at least we're going to try to. We promise that often, and we lie to you a lot. That's what we do. Actually, today's episode, I wanted to talk about, and we can do this generally, or we can get specific. And when I say specific, I don't mean names. I mean like really in depth on the issue, or not the issue, but the situation. I wanted to talk about moving forward in life with or without people, like moving through life, navigating life. After you lose people, and that can be in numerous different ways, why we feel how we feel and what we feel. Mm-hmm. And to anyone watching, the correct reasons why reasons why it may be your fault. Just the general topic I want to stick to is like navigating life, especially for people our age and like in the general pursuit of what we're doing, trying to follow either a craft or a business model for something bigger, and knowing who to keep yourself around, who not to keep yourself around, and how to know when you're actually the not toxic, I guess that's a word, but the negative person in a situation, and kind of like giving our viewership value as far as nurturing relationships they need and dropping ones they don't.
This is excellent. Kudos to you for coming up with this.
You're excellent. Kudos to you for being who you are, Pappy.
Bro, I suck. But
one thing TJ does not do is lie.
Oh.
He said, "Oh."
Oh man. So you want me to start, or you go ahead?
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing, if I did start with something, is my number one belief with people. I have a few core beliefs as far as like relationships with people go. Is one, that people need people. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people try to live life, or at least live life abundantly alone, and I don't really think that's possible, because like whatever you do, as far as like if you're looking for either financial or wealth in your legacy, you're gonna need people to either remember you, value you, or purchase you. You know what I'm saying? I think man was built for community, and man's ability to socialize and really communicate effectively is what set us apart and like above other species and animals. So I definitely think that we need other people. So I definitely think relationships are to be nurtured when they're to be nurtured. But it's not a secret that I'm also the type of person who's like, people come, people go. So I do have a few differing opinions. What about you?
I see. That's a fact. It's scientifically proven that we have to have people around. It's a video I saw about 3 years ago at this point, I believe. And it was like a little animation video on YouTube talking about how many friends is too many friends.
Man, I don't want
and
to. I don't want to knock you off topic, but those animated videos be hitting different. Go ahead.
bro, big facts. I saved it, and like I don't have many videos from that time in my life still in rotation, but it was so great. Animated video, how many friends are too many friends, and it was talking. It gave a whole bunch of psychological reasons why we have to have some people, and how like friends that we have on the internet are still friends, but we still need real life friends too, because we need like physical interaction. And I'm a couple at that point with like this dude did he did like a experiment on himself where like he didn't go outside, he didn't have contact with nobody for like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And bro, the effects it had on him, like I think a neighbor visited him or something, and like he bust down crying. But he could have been a bit but
Oh my God. This man is already acting a fool. We've been going for 11 minutes.
You said we had to give him something special, so yeah, but to cap off, like I said, I agree with you. Everybody here isn't Christian, but I must say, God did look at Adam and say he looked pretty lonely. Let me give him some.
Okay, wording again. You gotta be careful how you're saying what you're saying, G.
I'm with you, dog.
Why do you think? And okay, so at least as far as, I think we as people have a natural, like, maybe it's instinctual or maybe it's adaptive, but I think we have a natural propensity to know not to be alone. You know what I'm saying? No one had to teach us that. Yeah. And maybe that's coming from being, raised, not being a species that like, just ventures off as a youth. But I think that the general reason that we like to stay in communities is that fear is more so the fear of loneliness rather than just the understanding that we need each other. And I think that's why a lot of times when we go about not really nurturing, but when we go about like creating social circles, it's because we're avoiding being alone. And I think that's where the detriment comes in, because instead of trying to instead of us just realizing, more so on the positive side that we just need each other, generally we kind of emphasize that I don't want to be alone. So we end up, just placing people around us that can fill that void of loneliness rather than people who can really give us value as far as being a factor in our social circle, I guess.
Yeah. While you started that point off, I was thinking in my head like, I don't know how much I believe it, but that kind of gives some credence to, and I don't know if you want to get this deep this quick, but like I think a lot of toxic relationships or like abusive relationships, especially in like middle-aged people, like where they should leave that situation or get divorced or something like that, is the thought of being lonely. Yeah. So I can see it. I feel it.
Yeah. And I as far as issues, not even issues, but topics like this, I always try to ask myself why as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? Just so I can get to like the core of what my issue is when it's me. So, I like to, every question I get, I ask why. And then when I get that answer, I ask why. So like, if I'm getting further into it and I'm saying like, why do we want to be alone? Well, it's because, and me personally, I know I have an issue, with as far as people go, rather than being a person who puts people in my circle that don't need to be, I oftentimes cut people from my circle prematurely or preemptively in order to avoid them leaving. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think my natural fear of loneliness or my natural fear of being left or abandoned persuades me to make relationships, value these relationships, and then if I ever feel like there's not really tension, but if I ever feel there's contingency and potential for that relationship to go south or disappear in the near future, I'll do things that where I myself will say, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll coerce this relationship to be in a position where I can leave before you have the opportunity to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many people are like that, but I think that's just another one of those things when you're talking about, moving forward. I definitely think that can be detrimental just because I feel like, now me personally, I don't feel like I've cut off too many people I need, if any, but I do see how in the future, because I can remember a time where me and you have had a conversation, you know what I'm saying? But given that with you, I was like legitimately thinking of my effects on your spiritual growth and well-being, you know what I'm saying? But still, I feel like looking back at it at hindsight, I definitely think there were ways I could have better handled that. I could have definitely looked into just talking to you and been like, hey, so what can I do to be a more positive influence on you, or a more positive factor in your growth or your walk? You know what I'm saying? Rather than being so quick, and that is a problem of mine, rather than being so quick to just be like, well, maybe we just shouldn't. I could have slowed it down and been like, well, how can I be better for you? And I think a lot of people just get into a space where they think that's changing themselves. And I mean, in a sense it is, but I think that positive change, when it's objectively positive, not someone trying to manipulate you, is never a bad thing. I feel like if it's in your head first and you're like, and it's not like detrimental to your self-image, it can't be too bad to really consider. And I think it's relationships I've had that helped me realize that. I think in the last 2 months, people telling me that, me leaving people is because I get a lot of choice words and I listen to all of them. May not take them all to heart, but I consider every single one. I feel like the only person worse than a bad person is a person who cannot change and who isn't open to change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a couple people just told me that they feel like my saying people come, people go is a fulfilled prophecy, which in a sense I believe it is, because I do know that I feel that way about things, but I don't think it's always a bad thing. But in situations like that, I definitely think I could be more open, especially with people I dearly care about, because like with Jalen, of course, like my blood brother, that would never be an option. You know what I'm saying? And especially coming from someone like me, it is a bit hypocritical for me to treat someone like you, who is my blood brother regardless of his blood, or someone like, Kate, who's like closer to me, like you and Kate, and probably like Lucas are the three people that, couldn't get any closer to me. So yeah. I find it a bit hypocritical myself to treat y'all in a manner that's not linear with my blood family, and even more so than them. So I think, especially for people like me, what we really need, and I know people like me is a general statement because, but if anything I was saying describes you, I think a big thing like people like us need is to really like look introspectively and understand that like we can't just assume we know what's best for me and them. Sometimes we gotta like stop and say, okay, this is what and voice this to the other person. This is what I think you might need from me, and stop and wait, ask them, so what can I do for you? If that's not the case, and just understand that like in these conversations, there's two people's feelings matter, and you gotta really be conscious of that rather than just assuming that you have the best course of action every time. And I think that's something I've learned just from being hard-headed for a very long time.
Yeah, all of those are facts. It's a lot that go into being cool with you.
Thanks.
I'm not trying to cap on you or nothing like that. Wait, that is an old way to use that word. I'm
Yeah,
tweaking.
this is the second time you've done it. And the
Can you
first
hear those
time,
sirens, bro?
yeah, I hear who died. Somebody died outside the crib, bro.
Man, bro, I guess, man.
Sexy.
It's not, bro. I can't wait to. Anyway,
You know I love a good corpse.
I don't. So, like, when it comes to how you say people come, people go.
Yeah.
I won't get like super dumb specific, but in an instance where you cut somebody off and I saw how they reacted to it, I kind of resonated with some of the stuff they were saying.
Okay, don't be like publicly
I'm not
specific, but give me.
I'm not super specific. No.
No, don't be publicly specific, but give me an idea of who we're discussing, so I can be on the same wavelength.
It's a letter.
Most names have those.
One letter.
Oh no, don't agree with that one at all.
You don't agree with that
At all.
Like, what you mean?
That one was I don't agree at all.
Well,
Like not a single sentence of what he said.
nothing.
Not a single sentence.
Not the intimidating part.
No, because none of the people who I have nurtured relationships with are friends with me because I'm intimidating. I don't intimidate you. I don't intimidate Katie. And I do intimidate Katie, but not in the sense that people think I. But that's different. Everything, and believe this or not, everything on earth intimidates Katie.
Yeah, nah, I'm with you.
Like rocks. She's afraid of butterflies. No, so serious. She has a fear of butterflies. They intimidate her. But like, I just think with him, maybe that was the case with him. But I think with him, it's because he's never had someone in his life who told him you can't be that kind of friend for someone like him. In my opinion, if you love him and care about him, and see your friend killing themselves, see your friend hurting themselves and being a poison to themselves, and let that happen. If that's you, I don't support you, and I don't respect you at all, because I actually think that's one of those relationships that you need to get out of as the friend. If that person's doing that, you try to be there for them, and they're not listening, especially if they refuse to get help, because you're putting yourself in a position to be damaged by someone else who's intentionally damaging themselves and not getting. Now there's nuance to it, and there's extenuating circumstances to them, because mental health is a real thing. But there's a big difference between mental health and a bad habit that someone refuses to kick. If someone's addicted to something, and there's institutions for that, and they definitely need support. But if that person is 100% against getting that support, and they won't change and they won't do anything to get better, how many times do you need to sit? How long do you need to sit in a situation where things are terrible for someone else, and it's self-inflicted, and they're not going to change it? With him, I feel like he needs someone stern behind him, because if he doesn't have that, he doesn't do better. Only times he made any advancements is when he had that thing. But anytime people just been on his oh, you know what I'm saying, this is just you, it's something you deal with, it makes sense, it's okay, the behavior gets worse and he continues it. So I mean, I'm a stand on that one, because I think those are conflicting personality types, and that was just something he was extremely not used to, and honestly something he wasn't fond of, because I don't intimidate you. I don't intimidate Chris. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wasn't talking about the relationship in itself.
Yeah, I'm talking about the conversation we had.
No, I'm not talking about that either. No, I'm zeroing the fact that he said that. I'm zeroing in on that word, because it's not you intimidate. You don't intimidate me. No.
I know.
It's I know. But what I'm saying is what I know you're capable of makes me deal with you in
when you say capable of, are you talking about my propensity to just leave people and go?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now I think I'm following you.
Yeah. No. I wasn't gonna interrupt you because what you said needed to be heard by whoever's listening.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm saying about that is like, because when you have a relationship where you know that this person, in this case being you, this person looks at something a certain way. Just like with all your friends, you kind of cater around that if you care.
Yeah, of course. And that's anything.
Yeah. So, but when I start figuring out that you didn't have an issue, like being like, "Hey, yo, I'm good. He with you, without you," like it made me take a step back and be like, "Okay, I care about this relationship enough to where, like, I'm not gonna get to a certain point arguing with you like I would with Tay, like I would with Joe, because like that threat isn't there. I know Tay, me and Tay family, so it's just like at the end of the day, we come back, we straight. But like if you know that as soon as something is gone, it's really gone. Like yeah, you gonna tread a little bit lighter, and I'm not no like I'm not like no punk or nothing. But it's also like okay, you just have to deal with this person the same way, and you take people's character flaws, which that's an opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
I personally don't think that's a care. Well, I don't think being willing to lose people and openly willing to lose people is a character flaw at all. I think the character flaw is in seeing that as the only option. I think that having a dependency on people is extremely naive. And in order to not have a dependency, you have to be prepared for the worst, expect the best, and prepare for the worst. With people too. That being said, we do need people, but I feel like in the scope of relationships, people aren't replaceable, but people are definitely like
available.
Yeah, so it's like you can't always, like, if a relationship has to leave, a relationship has to leave, and it's not my place to tell it to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not finna. There are very few relationships I will fight for, very, very few, and that being because they're very, and maybe that's because of the difference in value for me. There are very few relationships that I value that much, especially outside of like family and like friends. But the only ones that I feel like I value that much are ones where if I never spoke to you again, I would reach out periodically to make sure you're good. There's certain people who I don't care if we speak or not, we're still friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, TJ, you could tell me tomorrow you never want to talk to me again, and you're still, you know what I'm saying? You're still, to me, you're still my brother, and I don't care how you feel about me. And I feel like you're the same way. Like, you don't care how I feel about you. We're family regardless.
It's happened. Not to that extreme, but it's happened.
Yeah. And I feel like it's happened on both sides.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, you good? Yeah, all right. Just make sure you alive.
And we know not to put. Oh, I just spit water. We know not to push the issue too. You know what I'm saying? Like, but no, I feel that, and I'm not trying to say that like I said, I don't wholeheartedly disagree. The only thing I disagree with is the idea of being willing to lose people being a personality flaw. I don't think that's a personality flaw. I think that's just
you worded it right when if it's the only way that they see stuff.
Yeah, like, and for a while, and I think I've already voiced this, that like for me that was the case, and I had to lose some people to realize that was the case for me, and I can take a different approach, especially with people I really care about.
Man, so when you talk about providing this type of content to people that's about our age, I think the next thing for people have to keep in mind, I don't know, boy, English really trying to give me a combo.
That's not
it's to remember to be objective.
Yeah.
I think that we come out of the high school environment, and just because you don't hit me up, you don't mess with me.
Yeah.
I done lost a lot of friends like that because I was thinking like that, and then I done lost some friends because they was thinking like that. But
Yeah.
like you said, you touched on it like briefly, bro. It don't matter if we talk, we good.
I think
Um,
yeah, no, I think for other people, bro, that's just them taking absence as a genuine loss, which isn't the case. Like I feel like that's a lot like people who they can have $1 in their pocket, $1 in their pocket. They reach in and TJ, you're one of these people, monetarily, maybe not like emotionally and with friends, but like they have $1 in their pocket and they reach in their pocket and they can't find that dollar and they get like upset and they're like, where I put that? It's $1. You really can't buy nothing with that dollar. And you're gonna get more dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna look for it, you're gonna freak out. But like at the end of the day, you'll know you're surviving. You're gonna encounter more dollars. I feel like those kind of people really fixate on the ownership and the possession of that thing, rather than understanding that, you know, it's something you have. Just because it's not present doesn't mean you're not you know, still in
possession of it.
yeah, and I feel like, and that may be a bad analogy, but I feel like that's kind of what it's like.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Oh, okay. You're a carpenter?
Nah.
Sorry. Bob the Builder. And another aspect of being objective, also when I think there's a process that you have to go through. I feel like of deductive reasoning when you decide whether or not you want to cut somebody off.
So we're deducing and processing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Process and deduce. Okay, go ahead.
You stupid. You stupid. And so, like, one thing is like you said, how much do I value this person, and how much do they value me? Because I think you can walk the line between being. Some people might look at it like you being selfish, but you do have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And if the people around you aren't contributing to that, like you are giving out more than you getting, and that's not always healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Toxic sometimes, you know. But you also can't just look at people like, what do they do for me? Like straight up all the time. Like, I mean, there are people that I'm mildly friends with or I'm cordial with, and I value those people, but we only talk every so now and then, and we only talk about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I feel like that mindset strictly. I feel like that mindset is strictly for business. The what do they do for me mindset is strictly for business. Yeah. I feel like as far as relationships and like your personal life, it's more of a question of just general care until it gets like that one. You shouldn't question a relationship until it may be negative for you. If it's not abusive, if it's not stagnating, and if it's not just impeding on your personal, mental, or psychological health, I don't think that personal relationships really need to be questioned. You know what I'm saying? Because those relationships are relationships that you voluntarily have, or maybe involuntarily have with someone, and you maintain because of a general compassion towards somebody. So with business, yeah, you can say, what are you doing for me? Because then it is those relationships are a mutual exchange. And, you know, you signed up for that rather than it just being something that developed. But I think all these relationships are like codependent on something, be it a bond, be it ownership, like the dollar scenario, or it being insecurity. And the insecurity one's super dangerous too, because those are the ones that I feel like really trap people who are in those like abusive or just negative like relationships. And this can go even to romantic relationships, because you know, that dependency on based off your insecurity actually keeps people around a bit longer, in my opinion, just because. And I don't know if you've been there. I think you have, but I don't know if you've been there.
Yes.
But when you're insecure, you tend to people keep you. I have PJ syndrome.
Boom, 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 boom.
When you're insecure, you tend to keep people around who you feel like supplement those areas where you may not be good enough, or you may not be competent, or you may not be and sometimes it's not that they're better than you. Sometimes it's that they're like you. You know what I'm saying? So say if I'm someone who thinks I'm not attractive, if I don't think I'll ever do better, that insecurity can make me stay with someone just based off the fact that, you know, like, okay, they look this way. I need to keep them around, because if I don't, can you shut up, phone? I'm doing something. If I don't, you know what I'm saying? And I know you've heard that one before. Is that you? Was that you? Cause you all right, ugly. Yeah. Was that you?
Dang, that's so crazy.
Dude, you're not the ugliest. I know uglier people.
Yeah. I'm laughing because it was that insecurity, and it was like it was a mix. It was the ugly and I can't get no girls.
Yeah.
Like those two thoughts that like kind of reigned over my head really all of last year. And when you saying that you gotta like get over that, that's why I made my circle like only girls, and only girls that I feel like was, hey, you gotta look a certain way. It was super toxic.
Yeah. Hate to cut you off. I just want to let you know that Riley from Colorado, not going to give too much specifics, says, I'm watching the podcast and y'all are speaking facts, LOL.
Hey.
So just letting you know, TJ, you doing good. I know you want to do this without me, but you're doing well. Go ahead.
no, I don't. But yeah, nah. And like looking back on it, it was just bad, because like a lot of feelings ended up getting hurt, and mine wasn't one of them, except for when my now wife broke up with me. Other than that, bro, you had me twisted. You feel me? You was expendable. But
oh my God. Now,
but I think a lot of dudes suffer from that. That's what I wanted to get out.
For sure.
A lot of dudes suffer from that.
Maybe not more. I think it's definitely possible that it's the same amount. And I feel like with men, we're afraid to admit it, just because to us, you know, it sounds not very manly. It sounds kind of feminine to say that, like, I'm insecure and I'm projecting on you my insecurity, which is why I don't want you to leave. But I think with men, us being more physical creatures, that's why those situations go left. And that's not always the case with just men, because sometimes women are the aggressors. And I feel like that's also a thing that doesn't get spoken about. But honestly, in more cases, it probably is men. I can't speak on too many men because I don't know enough men that intimately. And the men.
Shut up, Joe. I'm sorry. I was trying to catch you up.
It was pretty tough. What, beating women?
Yeah.
Hey, you know Joe wear the wife beaters, so I don't know what he on. But I don't know if y'all said so. Oh, talking about how ugly he was? Like, what are we talking about?
Oh, he talking about me last year and like all the girls, because he was there to see it like
Oh,
firsthand. Like,
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time I got a new one, I was collecting them like Pokemon. I'd be like, "Hey, cuz, look what I just did today," and it was just stupid.
That being said, two things I want to interject real quick. One, at the bottom right of your screen, you'll see a number. That's the call-in number. We're getting closer to the end of the podcast, so if anyone wants to call in and ask any questions, you can call through that number. I'll answer on my laptop because that's a Google Voice number. I probably don't have to tell you that, but I don't know why that was information you needed, but you can call in and ask us something if there's something you want to ask. Also, anyone watching, if you want to be a financial supporter of this podcast, you can check out our Patreon. There's three tiers of subscription. That'll be the $3, the $5, and the top, the $10 Patreon subscription. That's how our fan base and our following pours back into us for the effort, time, and what's the other word? Effort, time, and money that we put into this podcast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you want to give back to us in any kind of way, you can do that right there at the Patreon that just got dropped in the chat. Also, if you're watching on Twitch. So I think back on topic. I think a lot of times if we know all this information, why do we still do it? As far as like knowing we're insecure, knowing that we behave this way, as far as cutting people off, which can sometimes be unhealthy, sometimes be healthy. I think that one of the biggest factors of that is anxiety, and not anxiety in the sense like the generalized anxiety that a lot of people deal with, as a actual medical condition. More so like anxiety in its like general natural state where we as people try to manipulate or control things that we have absolutely no control over. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't change the way person A feels about us, or we can't change the way person A interacts with us. And sometimes because people are different, or sometimes because people just have different habits than us, we think that like they can't fit into a group with us. And that's not always the case. There's a lot of people who behave extremely differently than you. And just because that's different and it's not something you're used to doesn't mean that they're necessarily not interested or they don't care. Or it doesn't mean that they, you know what I'm saying, they don't want to be around. It just means they're used to something different. Maybe they were parented different. Maybe, their upbringing was completely contrary to yours. I know with me and TJ, that was something we definitely dealt with because we came from two different homes. His parents loved him a lot. Like that was their baby. And for me, I come from a home where like I'm sure it would have been that way had my mom been around, but she wasn't. My dad wasn't the best dad growing up. He's a lot better now, but he just wasn't the best dad growing up. With my grandparents, I was not the favorite. You know what I'm saying? Like they did not like me, which is okay now. It's
not okay.
But it just I come from an environment of a lot less love than TJ, even for my brothers, because growing up, me and my brothers did not get along. We were not close, especially not me, because Chris and Trey would, for a while it was me and Trey, but for the most part, especially when we were older, Chris and Trey kind of flocked together, and I was just to the side. You know what I'm saying? When we got older, everybody grew up, things changed. But growing up, definitely felt alone all the time. I had no friends growing up. I'm not trying to be like a sob story, but like that's just how it was. You know what I'm saying? So I think me being comfortable with that and me in my head logically trying to rationalize that it could always go back to that. I think I mentally kept that headspace of mine open, even though I know that's not the way things should be. And this is a different way to take the anxiety, but I think in my head, it's like, I know I can't control these things. So a part of me wants to always be prepared for it. Even though I know I should never go back to that, I never want to go back to that. I know if I have to, I can. Also, there's a mantra as far as entrepreneurship, that entrepreneurship is going to be the loneliest thing you've ever done. So I think another thing, like in my head, alone isn't a negative word to me. Lonely is, but alone isn't. I'm prepared to be alone in a lot of situations. That's another reason why I feel like, TJ, we can go days, even a week, and months before without speaking and still be good, because like we both know how to be alone without being lonely.
Yeah. That's a fact.
You say I'm so fat? Oh, that's a fact.
That's so crazy.
I promise. That's what I heard.
No clap back, no clap back.
I thought I heard you sitting on your couch. I'm so fat. I was like, bro, hey, are you good? Somebody call. I'm so stupid. I was about to say, somebody call the IRS. What are they gonna do for him right now?
Oh snap!
Don't call
Tori, what's good? Oh,
is that little cuz?
That's Lil Cuz, bro. He just graduated.
Oh, congratulations, bro. Welcome to the podcast. I hear a lot about you. Never met you. Know you're the little homie. And the family of the family. So you the family. What's good, buddy?
Wah.
Wah. Ah.
I can't do it. That's so
Talk to him.
crazy.
He was asleep.
Most definitely, folks. Dang,
Oh,
a
man.
lot of these rappers insecure. That's I was gonna get that out before we left too.
I'm glad that we had a much more targeted podcast this time, because we're definitely getting our viewership back up.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to test it. I did some reading, some focusing on the last couple of days, and I wanted to like refocus, revamp it. I don't know if you got to peep Spotify or any of the other platforms, bro. I did some and the YouTube. I did some design revamping, which I'm still working on. There's some placeholders there now, but trying to really coin this thing and make it ours.
I'm with you. Hey, but I love it. I love what you're doing,
And I love
what
you.
you do with the place. I love you too.
Nah, don't say love. Say love. VE.
I love you.
But I feel like that's the equivalent of sending someone ILY. You enunciate them letters for me. Nah, but if anyone's in the chat, feel free to call in. We love to talk to you about any of the topics that we discussed, or if you have any other questions that are related or not related, we love to kind of just jabber jaws with somebody. I met Jabber Jaws at Waffle House. He's a Shreveport celebrity. Also, when I tell you that feel free to, or like if you're in the chat and you want to, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, do that. We need someone to do that. We have 14 more minutes to fill, or we're going to end early. I just want help because honestly, I had a list of things to talk about, and we ran through it a lot faster than I thought we would.
Cause we run through them Jones.
That. Hey,
I'm sending you my Patreon content right now.
awesome. I'm also gonna call this number to make sure it's functioning. Cause what if they're calling it? If y'all aren't calling it and it is functioning, I'm gonna be very upset with you. 0649. All right, let's give it a call. See if it goes through. I probably should have tested this before the podcast, huh?
Probably.
What did it just say? Oh no, it works. Okay. Well, it said ding dong boom dong dong, ding dong boom dong dong. Speaking of more new faces, Giovanni, we gotta thank you both, Giovanni, Tori, and All-Star 0075, which I believe is Tori. Giovanni being one of the OC esports players, actually. Good buddy of mine. I still owe him a jersey. I have his jersey now, but good friend of mine. Really dope, really humble dude. Also, since we have a little extra time, let me go ahead and talk about this. Saturday night, so we're changing some things. I don't even think I talked to TJ about this. Saturday nights, we're changing to being a musically directed podcast. So, you know how a lot of times our podcast will end up going that route, TJ?
Yeah.
We're going to try to keep it from that. Saturday nights, we'll do music. Also, guests, Saturday nights.
Okay.
So, Saturday nights, because that seems to be the podcast that we miss the most. If we don't have a guest, it wouldn't be that detrimental to miss that Saturday night. Also, I want to not like a radio show, but more in the general direction of a radio show, especially with those guests. I want to try to get mostly guests that will come to me physically, as opposed to the few electronic or digital guests that we've done, one of which that went great, one of which that didn't. I think that would just be better for us as far as kind of keeping our content and our value that we offer to other people streamlined. And then these guests, I want to make sure that these guests are guests that can either give us value or we can give value in turn.
Gangsta Grizzle.
And we need drops and we need a beat pad.
Yeah.
I definitely need to load a We Live in there. But
We live.
But no, I appreciate that for sure. Doesn't look like
one of the joints that we gotta put on that drops, bro. Instead of going gangster, bro, one of us gotta just get up on the mic and be like, gangster Grizzle.
I don't like that. You like that?
For when somebody say something lame.
You think that's a good lame?
Yeah.
We need a wow that's crazy in there.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna put a
I have to jump.
Jade's in the chat. He just said yes. Speaking of Jade, we're gonna invite you back because look, technically for that Saturday night event, after we get it going the way we want it to go, I'm gonna treat it like we never had guests. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get people back on those Saturday nights that maybe didn't get the opportunity to do the show the way we're gonna do it, the way we need to do it. Also, the structure of this episode is more so how we're advancing in the future. Also, the structure of the Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, or the Podbean, wherever you may listen to these podcasts, is going to be totally different from now on. Also, the YouTube will be up, and we'll have VODs of these podcasts up either in shortened form or in some other manner from now on, the day after the podcast, maybe by the next podcast. I'll probably set it to release on the date of the next podcast at 10 p.m. actually, and have it readily available to the Patreon immediately. But that just being a reason, that's something we had planned to do for a while. I just never actually orchestrated it. But we're trying to put a lot more energy, time, and effort into this podcast because the people who like it love it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if we focus a lot more on offering something to the people who, support us, like episodes like this where we actually talk about something focused, then we can still be ourselves and still be like joking around like we have been this episode. I feel like we'll see a lot more success, but more than the success, I feel like we'll actually give something to the people who give to us, which is really what we want to do. I know both me and TJ have a heart to be there for people that we care about, and we care about people who support us, and we care about people in general. So I think that this is a good opportunity for us to share what little we may know, if it be little. But I know both of us kind of have tempered minds as far as business, and we're both super like objective and logical people, ones and zeros type of people. So that being said, if ever someone is not in agreement with us, we'd love to hear about that. Obviously, you guys don't want to talk to me because no one's calling. But TJ said, forget to pitch the not TJ, sorry. JC said, don't forget to pitch the idea me and you chatted about with the musical guests putting their skills to the test. Yeah, that's one of the that was supposed to be a surprise, Jade. So learn how to shut your mouth, just like. But like here goes Jade, Baconator. There you go again, bro. Shut up.
Are you read?
What'd you say?
Are you read?
Hey, mustard, shut up, Jay. Jay, what's wrong with you? But yeah, bro, that's definitely a thing. That's one of the reasons why we want to have guests come in person. But yeah, no, for sure. I think that'll be dope. My phone finna die. That's okay. But
mine too.
That's fine. But I mean, I don't want to force any unnatural content. TJ, is there anything else you want to share?
Just that. No, I don't.
Okay, you look like a bulldog. Have I ever told you that?
Hey, yo,
I was at work.
You was finna hit the intro, the outro. That's what you said?
No, I was at work and I was in a statuary room and we got new like pug, like bulldog statues, and I was like,
I don't look like that nigga, bro. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nickels and dimes. No, we were having a great episode.
Oh, you call me a bulldog.
No, bro, I'm gonna show it to you. You're gonna be like, that's me.
No,
but
I'm not.
Anyway, sound check.
We live.
Bulldog, yeah, that's you.
I'm not a bulldog.
They don't love the kid. No, they don't love the kid. They don't love the kid. Yeah, my aunts don't know I knew it, but I knew it. Hey, undisputed. Undisputed. With this music.
Bro, if you would have heard the end of the last episode, we were wild.
You can lose or quit. Yeah, my aunts don't know I knew it, but I see like through my lens.
Nah, I did.
See like through my lens. Please don't be.
It's on the YouTube.
I just shake you best to start. Pull up on me, just my spark. Things get dark.
Things get dark.
Things get dark.
Things get
I
dark.
respect my pen.